Naruto Uzumaki, Yuji Itadori, Izuku Midoriya, Tanjiro Kamado, Denji. What do they all have in common? That's right, they're all boys. We all know them, but who really is the boyest boy? Denji seeks to prove himself as the most accurate portrayal of a man in this day and age. He just like me. He just like me for real for real. First things first though, if you're triggered by my title, the thumbnail, please don't waste any time. Drop a dislike, shoot a comment saying how feminism is ruining everything. Engagement is engagement, my friends. Need I say more? Does it go much further than that? Cheers, my friends. However, I would like to put it on the record that I love Chainsaw Man, and I really enjoy how the women are written. What? I'm one of you? Yes, I'm a big fan. I believe Chainsaw Man is a great source to look at for how to write women, in anime and in just plain storytelling. If this series is adapted correctly from its original source, it will probably be one of the best examples of character writing in recent anime. But Ina, the main character's entire goal is to touch boobs. There are camera angles looking at Makima's chest. Power is naked in flashbacks. Yes, Chainsaw Man has a ton of avenues that makes it seem like it's your typical shonen anime. Characters getting objectified, made for the male gaze, is one-dimensional, stereotypical, and overdone. But in reality, Chainsaw Man places these concepts on the surface and actually navigates these tropes really carefully. And I find that so cool. Now, for some reason, you guys are really interested on my take in the women of Chainsaw Man, how females are portrayed in recent anime, and now it is my duty to give what the people want. Hi, my name is InaQ, and today we are going to analyze the women of Chainsaw Man and how they are written to be such strong female characters. And I've narrowed it down to not one, but two reasons. 1. Fujimoto doesn't write women that are powerful, deep characters. He wrote powerful, deep characters that happen to be women. And 2, the problematic tropes aren't as problematic as they seem. So let's discuss the cultural phenomenon that is Chainsaw Man, and more importantly, analyze why the women stand out in a series that's made to put them down. There will be spoilers ahead. Number 2, that's right, we're starting with the second point. The problematic tropes aren't as problematic as they seem. Before we get into the women of the series, which I know is what you guys are here for, I think that it's more important that we first discuss the worldview of Chainsaw Man and how it tackles fan service. So, Chainsaw Man. Man is part chainsaw. Yeah, main character with a demon inside him joins an organization to fight bad guys with his trio. Very interesting. That's literally the base plot to so many shonen anime, but I think where Chainsaw Man stands out and differentiates itself from all the others is within the characterization and motivation of our protagonist, Denji. Denji is so down bad. We kick off Chainsaw Man introduced to a boy trying to get by, living off a slice of bread in a shed with his dog. But he also wants to hug a girl before he dies. His dog becomes his heart, and in a state where Denji thinks he himself is about to die, he asks for the very thing he wanted in the first chapter. He wants a connection. I don't think it's that hard to grasp, but anime likes to do the anime thing where they cover it with comedy, so Denji wants titties. He is perverted, but there's more to it. Yes, he's young and immature, but he's also really socially inept. He is someone whose life has been a living hell. Denji has no support system to process trauma and is desperately grasping for what he thinks is a normal life. Denji doesn't know what love or lust is, but he knows that he craves for it naturally. It's similar to naturally wanting food, which all he seemed to know from episode 1 was just a slice of bread. Honey and jam is a luxury to him, let alone love. And then when fan service comes into play, the fan service isn't played off as a joke. His intentions every single time are used against him. You want to touch some boobs? Okay, kill the Bat Devil first. He is constantly being abused, lied to, and nearly killed by the women around him, and yet Denji doesn't lose faith in wanting a connection. Right after achieving his goal, he realizes that what really matters in an intimate relationship is the bond you have with a partner. So while there are many moments of degeneracy, frames with just Makima's chest, Fujimoto, the animators, do this with intention beyond just giving its male viewers some eye candy. We are following this character. The trope that is fan service is actually navigated really, really well. A trope is only bad if it makes your story simple. A trope is bad if it makes the story feel like lazy writing just to appease its audience. And Denji's motivations are shallow at first, yes, but we see the development. Denji's motivations are only shallow if that's all that there is, but that's not true. Denji is learning from his experience. He is a fleshed out character with development that we are seeing happen in real time. What I'm trying to say here is that this is the foundation as to what makes Chainsaw Man work. This is what makes Fujimoto's writing work. He's not avoiding the sexist tropes. Instead, he's tackling them head on and deconstructs them in a satisfying way. A huge part of Denji's development is forming meaningful bonds and friendships with the women in his life. If Denji were a person, I wouldn't like him, but as a character, I find him very interesting. The fan service and Denji's shallow motivation sets the foundation for his character arc. This is why the fan service doesn't come off as too obnoxious. It's okay. It's needed, and Chainsaw Man actually treats the women in it with respect and dignity, which is something a lot of anime lacks. Denji never forces himself onto any of the women here. Every sexual thing is consented to and actually prompted by the women. I've seen people on Twitter call Chainsaw Man misogynistic, and it's definitely not. The problematic tropes aren't actually problematic. So now that we've gotten that point out of the way, let's talk about the women. Number 1, Fujimoto doesn't write women that are powerful, deep characters. He wrote powerful, deep characters that happen to be women. Now, I know Fujimoto is a questionable person overall based on what I've read on Twitter and his other manga, but man has a fundamental understanding of writing in-depth characters, and that's especially seen with how he writes the women of Chainsaw Man. It's shown in the female leads and in the female supporting cast. Chainsaw Man has an incredible lineup of women in a show that, like I said, seems like it was made to put them down. From having an anime trio that includes a token female who is also a manic pixie dream girl, not one but 2 manipulative femme fatales, a naive comic relief, and a broken girl written for its male characters. This show seems doomed for the women. But it's not. A huge reason as to why these tropes actually subvert our expectations is because Fujimoto isn't afraid of giving the girls the spotlight in scenes. He's not afraid to make them unlikable. And especially, you can tell that he takes his female characters as serious as his male characters. Never ever in the series do they feel like they can't exist without Denji giving them importance. They're nuanced, the girls are integral to the plot and are often the ones that actually move the plot forward. So finally, I'd like to give a spotlight to the women in the series and kind of dissect what about their writing makes them shine. Let's start off with our baby girl, Power. Power is a lot of things. Power is a Nobel Prize winner. Power is the president. Power is racist. She's a narcissist and doesn't care what people think. Power has 2 problematic aspects about her in Chainsaw Man. 1, she's the token female in her trio, and 2, she's a manic pixie girl with a naked cutscene. What's a manic pixie girl? Well, coined by the famous film critic Nathan Rabin, the manic pixie girl can be spotted when you see a female character that is shown to be different or quirky from the other women around them. They tend to have a unique style, weird mannerisms, and are basically just a plot device or an object to serve the main character. And that is very much not the case with Power. Much like Denji's pervertedness on the surface, Power is a lot of terrible things, but has an aspect to her where the audience empathizes and really sees her for who she is. It's clear that Fujimoto loves symbolism in the show. A huge symbol throughout Chainsaw Man is the use of dogs and having a dog owner. That's definitely seen with characters like Denji and Makima. To contrast that though, Power has a cat, a creature that's independent and free. A big aspect to the girls in Chainsaw Man, but especially in Power, is the fact that her gender has nothing to do with who she is. Fujimoto made Power disgusting, unlikable, but he also lets Power control the scenes when she needs to. Denji barks for Makima and is obnoxious living with Aki because he's Denji. Power is rude and doesn't flush the toilet. She doesn't bathe and is just chaos itself, but not because she's quirky, but because she's Power. The idea of Power being a "I'm not like other girls" type of character is never a question with her because we know exactly why she's like this. Power makes her own choices. She's territorial over food. She's quite literally a wild animal. And this is an essential aspect to her character when we see Power's growth as she grows closer to Aki and Denji. Power was always so selfish in doing whatever she wanted. This then transforms to her actually working together with Denji, and then evolves to the point where she actually relies on him when she's scared. The fact that she was running naked in a flashback has nothing to do with fan service. It was realistic for her. And that connection that she has with her cat Meowie is what sparks her transformation and character arc that we get to follow in the series. We see Power treated with as much respect and weight as the other two boys in Chainsaw Man's trio. Her growth feels natural and never forced. Especially too in combat, she never feels like she needs to prove herself. She is on par with her male counterparts. If you can't tell, Power is my personal favorite of the girls of Chainsaw Man, and I can keep going about her, but I think I've established what makes her such a great character and how she's written, so I think it's about time we move on to our next character, Himeno. Just like the rest of the cast, Himeno has many faults. She's an alcoholic, a flirt, and is notoriously known to sleep around with her coworkers. If there was a moment that made Himeno stand out for Chainsaw Man fans, aside from the barfing scene and the self-sacrifice, it would probably be for the act of nearly sleeping with our young protagonist. Yeah, very problematic for a female character. Yes, what Himeno did or was trying to do was wrong, that is no question. Don't sleep with underage kids. Although with great writing, Fujimoto makes it clear to us that Himeno isn't a bad person. Himeno didn't want to actually sleep with Denji. She says she likes Aki, and we see that she just takes Denji home after a night of jealousy. This does not at all justify her actions, but what it does is explain them. She shows us that she wasn't trying to be a creep or predatory, and Fujimoto shows us that this wasn't written into the story for shock value. It was written for her character, and Denji's. If you look past the comedy and the blaring action of the series, you'll see that Chainsaw Man actually has really good show-don't-tell writing. You can see in our time with Himeno that she's an actual nuanced character, and while you can absolutely say her actions are wrong, it's there to showcase that having a job where you quite literally face humanity's biggest fears, there are going to be people that aren't really well adjusted. Fujimoto highlights that her bubbly, happy, outgoing personality is actually a front for who she actually is. A deeply damaged, traumatized woman who has lost countless people in her life and has resorted to vices of smoking, alcohol, and sex. Characters like Himeno tend to get paired with the broken girl trope. This is where writers will romanticize things like death and trauma in hopes to make a character more appealing to its audience. So of course, something like smoking and drinking would get glamorized when trying to make a broken girl. These aspects about her make her really cool and really strong. Like, wow, that makes her so cool. However, with Himeno, her backstory is never idealized to make her look cooler. We never think like, wow, she's been through a lot. She's so strong just because she smokes. No. We see Himeno's strength in combat as she's able to stay calm under stressful situations. When we see her refuse to betray Denji during the Eternity Devil arc. Through the patience and tolerance she has after getting slapped by her old partner's girlfriend. Himeno's backstory actually highlights her weaknesses. It humanizes her as we see her longing for Aki to quit devil hunting. And so when we see this night with Denji, we see the reality of her trauma and the unhealthy ways she's been coping with it. Resorting to drinking and smoking to seem cool is never the case with Himeno. She doesn't do this to look cool, she doesn't do this to be the fun character of the group. She does it because that's who she is. And we also see this exact brokenness in Denji's and Power's second mentor. Fujimoto crafted Himeno thoughtfully. Her appearance is short-lived, yes, but her character carried weight. And yes, at the end of the day, Himeno's character was written and taken out of the story for a male character, for Aki's growth. But I think that's okay to be overlooked with how crafted she was. And also the essence of Himeno is carried out throughout the rest of the story through Aki. Himeno is lovely, and I wish we had more of her, but we don't. But you know a character that we're definitely getting more of? Kobeni. I knew that Kobeni was gonna wow some people in the show. Definitely a lot of what I was expecting. She's a character that seems to only offer screaming, crying, and potentially sacrificing her teammates for her own selfishness. But she turned around for some of y'all. I saw that on Twitter. How did that happen? Kobeni is introduced to us in Chainsaw Man as the naive comic relief. She's a character that seems like she's always suffering and seems to always be the butt of a joke. Power even bullies her and takes her seat in the opening credits. But there's a lot more to Kobeni than we saw, of course, which is so interesting because she's more of the supporting cast. How does she get so much attention and depth? We see this girl who isn't a main character and isn't a villain. She's just a girl working at this job like Denji. She's not a part of anything. She's basically someone that could be like a bystander, an NPC in a video game. But no, she actually becomes a standout person with more than what she leads on. We also get a backstory for her, and it also never feels forced. And she also has agency, a motivation that has nothing to do with our protagonist whatsoever. We learn that she's a devil hunter because it was the only escape she had from her abusive household. Her goal is to save enough money to help her brother leave that household, and also to not die on the job. She literally had to pick between sacrificing her body or sacrificing her life. I definitely don't blame her for picking this job option. And yes, at the end of the day, this job, devil hunting, is scary. Throughout the story, they say that you need to be a little unhinged to have this job. Every time she screams and is freaking out, it makes sense. Kobeni is literally a regular girl that just wants to live her life. She's a girl trying to stay sane in a job where you fight devils that can put you in horrendous scenarios like trapping you in a never-ending loop. Also, Kobeni isn't the only girl to sacrifice Denji's life. When I first met Kobeni in the manga, I didn't really care much about her. It really wasn't until she sat down and had a conversation with Denji and had the most human conversation in the entire series. Denji hits rock bottom, wondering why and how life ended up so bad and miserable. Then Kobeni looks to him and says that there's no such thing as a life free of bad things. You see Kobeni struggling for her life every day. We see that whenever she's on screen. We see her live with the guilt and fear she has and how real it is. You can tell she's traumatized. She isn't just screaming for the laughs. She isn't just screaming just because it's just her quirk. She's also not like other girls, no. She's literally the most real girl in the series. Honestly, the most human girl. R.E.P. Himeno. Like I said with Himeno, devil hunting will bring out parts of people and definitely leave them not really well adjusted. And Kobeni's writing shows just that. Since when was being an anxious wreck and having anxiety bad? Kobeni is just like me, dude, for real, for real. She's a character that's filled with dimension and flaws. She doesn't really rely on others to get the job done. When she needs to pick herself up, she does it. She's truly a character that I went from hating to one I genuinely felt sorry for. Kobeni isn't the clueless comic relief. She's Kobeni, and she needs a break. And so stepping away from Kobeni, let's talk about Reze.
I should have brought an umbrella.
Oh!
What?
Oh, hi there. Sure is coming down, isn't it?
Ta-da!
What?
No tricks or gimmicks to this magic.
Oh my gosh, a magic trick? That's incredible. Thanks.
Came by to grab lunch.
Every day for a full week? The food here isn't that good. Would you like to eat at my table?
Nah, I'm cool. You're studying, right? You know you're on the clock?
You aren't going to school, right? Even though you're 16? A kid who should be in school is hunting devils? You're a rare breed. super rare.
I guess I do want to learn to read better.
You can't read? Okay, I'll teach you. Dun 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 dun. What does this say?
That says balls, you perv.
So you can read.
Balls is the one word I can always read.
What's up with that?
Kinda wish I could have gone to school with you, Reze. Seems like it'd be fun.
Who can solve this problem?
Oh, pick me! I know! Two!
Correct! You're a genius! What does this say?
Pick me! Wait, I don't know.
The answer is big ass.
Yeah, perv.
Hey, Denji?
Huh?
I've been thinking about it a lot, and I stand by what I said. Your situation really is messed up. Like, making a 16-year-old fight devils to the death? Not even letting you go to school? The government shouldn't allow that. Denji, will you quit your job and run away with me?
Run away with you? Why would you do all that?
Because I like you, Denji. Why are you hesitating? Don't you like me?
I like you. But...
Okay, I get it. Denji, there's someone else you like, isn't there?
Every woman I meet tries to murder me! Everybody is after my chainsaw heart. What about my heart? Denji's? Does nobody want that?
I do. I meant it when I said I like you, Denji. Denji, truth is, I've never gone to school either.
The Bomb Devil arc is probably my favorite story arc in the entire series. The manga panels and voiceover storytelling is very much an oversimplification of everything that happens during the arc. I wanted to highlight and for you to see just the fresh air that just seemed to happen during this part of the manga. As one of the major antagonists in the series, Reze was tasked with a mission to play the role of a normal girl to lure Denji and inevitably steal the heart of the Chainsaw Devil. Though through this mission, she found herself catching real feelings for her target, setting her up on a path in trying to save both of their lives, with hope to live a normal one. Reze belongs to an iconic trope of the femme fatale, a nickname for the term fatal woman, which is a woman to die for. A woman that's known to manipulate their protagonist without actually serving any depth. But with Reze, she was given so much character detail even way before she was revealed as the Bomb Devil. She had agency. You could tell that she actually really cared for Denji. Her character spoke volumes as she got to know Denji for Denji, not as Chainsaw Man. It got to the point where she literally was ready to betray her own mission. During their fight, Denji realizes that nobody has ever really seen him for Denji. Denji claims that people only want his chainsaw heart, but Reze consistently tells him she really had feelings for him. Reze saw who Denji was deep down. And there was no subversion of truth like your regular femme fatale. Even when Reze was trying to fake it, telling Denji that it was all a ploy, that nothing was real, he calls her bluff and tells Reze to meet him in the cafe. And on her way there, Reze meets a vicious end, leaving the audience in conflict for an antagonist. We didn't just get a well-crafted character, we got a villain that we empathized for. And her arc was definitely one of the most memorable moments in the entire series. And I believe that this is the best arc in the manga, at least for me personally. But now with that, let's finally talk about the woman of the series, Makima. What hasn't been said about Makima? Countless video essays on YouTube and TikTok delve into the pure evil, that her character is as the main overarching villain of Chainsaw Man, and without a doubt, the pure hatred I have for her for tearing this family apart cannot be put into words. She's a character you love to hate. She's manipulative, she's cruel, and she's especially a character that's so fascinating to discuss. In the series, Makima is gentle, quiet, and never really stands out compared to the rest of its characters. She stays in the background while we follow Denji and his experiences. Also, character-wise, she's devoid of anything that makes her stand out. She doesn't have any defining character trait like Himeno or power. Even Kobeni's clips, Makima really just has the Katniss Everdeen hairstyle, I guess. Makima is very plain. She just goes around wearing a suit, sometimes with a large coat on her. Everything is always professional looking, and she's elegant and serious. But please tell me why the fan art says otherwise. Okay, look at Makima. Look at the fan art. Do you see a theme? Look how curvy she is. Makima with a dumpy? How? Why is this happening when her character is so devoid of anything sexual about her? Might I suggest that this was done on purpose? Makima specifically makes the choice to utilize her body to manipulate Denji. Makima will take advantage of anything that you can give her to let her control you. Here's a TikTok that explains what I'm trying to say really well.
Mommy Makima. Let's talk about it. Makima is probably my favorite character in the Chainsaw Man series because she is the most complex and evil female character that I think I've ever seen written. Even in viewers' consumption of Makima, you can see that they'll downplay her villainy in order to idolize or sexualize her, meaning that her powers are working outside of the Chainsaw Man universe.
It's scary, but it's true. Makima is controlling you outside of the story that she's written in. She's trying to control the audience. She's trying to control those who consume Chainsaw Man. And it's working. It's gotten so far to the point where somebody spread a rumor stating that Fujimoto confirmed that Makima owns a strap-on, and people believe it. Going back to how we've normally been analyzing all the women of Chainsaw Man, a trope that Makima's character tackles is another version of the femme fatale, utilizing the fact that she's a woman that Denji is interested in, just like Reze. Although this route is a bit different, Reze manipulated him through time and effort. On the other hand, Makima specifically manipulated him through her femininity. Makima was taking advantage of Denji and his lack of a mother and his lack of experience with other girls. Like, for one, she definitely talks to him like a mother. Yes, a dog owner too, but the mother aspect is so important, and that's especially seen in the final battle where you can see all the chains linking Makima's victims to her womb. From the gentle mother to the femme fatale, these two aspects of Makima has so much potential to become just so sexist. But he really uses these details to create her character and how she looks. All these details from her design to who she is are so crucial in making a well-crafted character. For example, a lot of the time you might see a character that's really designed well, but poorly written. It's like the author thinking of one character trait, like, let's make a cute character, let's make them beautiful. And then after having the design, then they'll make their personality, then they'll do whatever they can. And a lot of the times, this can make the character kind of shallow because you think they're already done because you already know what they look like. But on the other hand, if you think of the relationships a character is going to have, the character's backstory, and then you can move on to how physical qualities can push forward these ideas you have for this character. And Makima herself is such a great anime villain and just a great character, period. Makima is the control devil, and she knows what she's doing. If you think about her, if you're aware of her, that's access to control you. Simping for her is how she controls you. You're under her control. Honestly, what I love most about Chainsaw Man is that the women are as nuanced and as rich as the male counterparts in this series. It's so lovely to see that, and is honestly what my biggest issue was in my Shonen Girls video. Authors can think so diligently and so detailed for the boys of the series, where on the other hand, all the girls just get so little attention, just the bare minimum attention. And Power is crazy, Kobeni is terrified, Makima is cold, Himeno is welcoming. Just like the men in the series, the women are their own people and are as crazy and if not more than the guys. Power isn't a good character just because she's the blood fiend. Denji isn't the good character just because he has the chainsaw heart. These surface level character traits have very, very little with the character arcs that they both go through. Who the characters of Chainsaw Man are what's more important than what gender they are. What I'm trying to say here is that in anime, there usually is the problem where a female character enters a scene and the writer is much more focused on telling you that there's a girl on the team rather than a character that you're going to learn more about in the future. And I love the character writing so much. Same way with the guys of the series too. I could also make another video on the boys of Chainsaw Man. Comment below. But yeah, that's the video. I still don't know how to end a video other than saying, so yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm so sorry for the long wait. Like, comment, subscribe, all of it, none of it, whatever you want. Please let me know your thoughts on the women of Chainsaw Man. What draws you to them? Do you agree with me? What do you like about them? What do you dislike? Let's keep this conversation going in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything that should have been talked about. Tell me what you think of the video. I worked really hard on it. It's not like I care anything.